everybody, and welcome to today's special episode of Taking Care of Business. I'm here with JP. How do I say your surname?
Mondalek.
Mondalek, and he is the I'm going to say CEO of Careem?
Oh, no. So I was the founding country manager for Uber in the UAE. So our first operation in the Middle East started here in 2013.
So yeah, you're not the ex-CEO of Careem, but we tell everyone that you were.
No.
Who was the CEO of Careem?
So there were two founders. There was Mudassir and Magnus. Okay. So they started Careem, and then, as you know, years later, a few years after I left Uber acquired Careem.
Okay.
Yeah. So they continue to do their thing. Yeah.
And you obviously exited that business
and joined Dubizzle. Okay. So Barry Judge hired me to basically lead the motors vertical, which for me is a passion vertical. I love cars.
Yeah.
And wearing my marketplace hat, you get to build a marketplace, but also tap a passion vertical. So I enjoyed being at Dubizzle and the parent company OLX for 3 years. So while there, what was exciting was taking the business from essentially just selling listing space to getting closer to the transaction and eliminating friction and pain points for sellers and buyers of cars. So you may have seen at Tashjil in Barsha, there's a little booth and branded Dubizzle.
Explain what that is, because I don't. Right, this is a tech company. We're going to get onto property in a minute, but
we promise you.
We will get to tech. Dubizzle, right, they have a booth there. They buy cars themselves and sell cars. Why? What am I missing?
Yeah, so I'll explain. So essentially, when I joined Dubizzle, one of the first things I did is I sat with the customer support team to listen into customer complaints. And a frequent complaint was that people were saying that they would list cars and not be able to sell them.
Yeah.
We would look at the quality of those listings, and frankly, they were shit. So number one, people needed help taking photographs, writing the description, and being responsive to leads that they were getting. So that was one opportunity. The other thing we noticed is that the first 5 phone calls that these sellers were getting were from car dealers, which then tells you that dealers want inventory.
Correct.
So that's another problem to solve. So there were 2 very young but very successful startups in town. One called Expat Wheels, which was a consignment selling business led by Matthew Davidson. So
that's still around?
We acquired them.
Do you know why it's weird you say that?
Why?
So I'm looking for a car for my wife at the moment, and I went on to Expat Wheels because I remember the website, there was like 4 cars on it. It was still like a dead website, and I was like, what's happened to it?
So now talk to me. We'll get Matthew on the case. But Matthew's now moved on to great things on the data side. But so approached Expat Wheels, brought them on board, did a little pilot, and we did wonders. And basically, as a business, we went from selling a listing for 200 dirhams, where half of the time people were not successful selling, to making 2,500 dirhams a transaction.
Okay.
Where we would charge you 500 upfront to represent. We do all the legwork, and then upon sale, we would then collect another 2,000 dirhams. So you can imagine what that did for the P&L of the motors vertical.
So do you know what the situation is now with because I tried to, when I bought my car recently, I got my PA page to put my car online, and you sent me the contract through once you said sell it. And I thought, it's 500 dirhams to sell it. And I thought, that's too cheap. So I got the contract out, and I swear, forgive me if I get this wrong, 8% they wanted of the car value to sell it. And I was like, are you mad? Because there's 2 packages. There's a standard and a premium. And the premium, you get photos and everything.
So believe it or not, during my time, we were charging the same amount, irrespective. And I think since then, what they've done is they've tried to squeeze the lemon, the monetization lemon a bit harder.
But it works.
And now, now I wonder how many people are availing, but I guess they're able to extract more from higher value cars than they are with lower value cars. But that was kind of one thing that we did, and that was the booth that you saw. So that booth would help people with inspecting, selling, and buying cars, and we basically helped grease the wheels of transactions in the city, and people liked it. Now, you ask, how's the service going? It breaks my heart, but sometimes I hear stories that, the quality isn't what it used to be. Matthew's not there anymore. Taylor's not there anymore, who used to do all of the transactions. He's now joined the business called Expat Motors, which has a physical shop. So Taylor is there. But that was an amazing...
They're a sponsor for Brits in Dubai, which is a forum or a group that we run. So it's like 34,000 people that are British, that are local, based in Dubai, asking questions about it. But anytime it comes about a car, I always see Expat Motors come up.
So that was that. And then we bought another business, not too dissimilar to We Buy Any Car, in the UK. It was called We Cash Any Car.
Yeah.
And so we bought that business, and the idea behind that was there's a set of sellers who want to sell quickly, are less price sensitive, and guess who's bidding on those cars? Dealers. So that would satisfy that insatiable appetite
So
of
that
dealers for
company as
inventory.
well, I've crossed paths with that company.
Okay.
So when I first met my now wife, we're talking 12 years ago, she had a Peugeot 206 it was, and I said, look, babe, I'll get you a new car, we're together now. So ended up buying a new car, and we took her car into We Cash Any Car, or We Buy Any Car. I can't remember what it's called.
We Cash Any Car, around the corner from Bershad Tashdil.
Yes.
Yes. And
So
you met Faz and Naz.
Can't remember who it was I went in there. So we've gone in there with a car, and they said, we'll offer you 18,000 dirhams or whatever it was. I said, yeah, no problem, babe. Just get it gone. Get it off the drive. We'll move on. I've gone there. They've offered 18 grand. I've got there's like a website that you go on and put an automated thing on. We've gone there and went, we'll have to offer you 12. I think there's something wrong. I was like, are you joking me? Anyway, I said, our principal, I'm out the door. But I suppose there's a lot of people that just want the cash there and then as well, aren't there?
So their agents are essentially trained to look around the car, and every little ding or whatnot, they basically say, okay, that's 500 dirhams.
Grand off, thank you.
Right, and there's a KPI, right? The more you can knock off, that means more margin on the car, right? I'm sure there are certain analogies in this industry, but that's
cheaper the
how it works.
agent, the poorer the service. That's how it normally goes down. Right, we're going to get away from cars and we're going to talk about hausa.com. So you have come from Dubizzle, Kareem, Uber.
So no Kareem. It came from Uber, Dubizzle, and Amazon.
Okay.
Which I was with for the last 2.5 years.
Uber's bigger than Kareem anyway, isn't it really? So is it bigger or not?
Globally, obviously, it's a global player.
That's all I'm saying. Okay, so coming from where you've come from, you're now the CEO of hausa.com. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you've gone from a marketplace with, was Barry your old boss? Was he your boss?
Barry hired me. Barry was my boss.
Took over his position and he's moved on to a much bigger position, which we were aware of. Do you want to talk through that very quickly? How has that come about?
Yeah, so prior to joining hausa.com, I was at Amazon in MENA, leading essentially brand and peak events and customer lifecycle. So had a great opportunity to learn a new skill set at Amazon. As I mentioned, my background, after coming back to the UAE, where I grew up, I've shifted from being an investor to being on the operating side. And the first two roles at Uber and at Dubizzle were focused on scaling marketplaces. But then at Amazon, what I was doing was essentially helping us elevate the brand of Amazon, because Amazon entered the region via acquisition, buying Souq.com. So we had to basically build the brand in the mind of consumers in the UAE, in Saudi, and in Egypt. So I basically learned that craft from the best of the best. Amazon is the largest advertiser in the world. And then Peak Events is a program that they build to create peak sales spread across the year.
Just like Black Friday and things like that?
Absolutely. Black Friday, Prime Day, etc.
So does that actually work? Do people wait for Black Friday in Amazon?
So ideally, we want people to be shopping all the time, and we have the Prime program to incentivize you to do that. However, what we saw with these mega sale events is that it does a couple of things. Number one, it does draw existing users to make incremental purchases during those, because you've got better discounts, so people will hold out for some of the big ticket items. But then what it does is it re-engages some of your dormant customers. Yeah. So it brings them back to life, right?
So I've got a question about Black Friday then.
Sure.
So the dormant customers, the people that are buying, there's a discount of, what is it normally, 20%, 10%, 30%?
On some items can go all the way up to 70%.
Who bears the brunt of the discount? Amazon or the shop?
So the vendor, right, which is the brand that sells on Amazon, is the one they have a pocket, if you will. Right? It's a marketing expense, right? So this is like a seller discount that they give you. So that's kind of the line item that they have, and we tap that to be able to offer the discount. So when you go to the Procter and Gamble's of the world and whatnot, you're basically negotiating that discount.
But what about the stuff that Amazon, obviously, with their massive holding factories? We're going to get into property, by the way, but I'm interested in tech and Amazon, so we're going to get into that. The factories that hold all Amazon stuff, so you've obviously pre-bought them. How do you go and say we're going to give a discount? How does that work?
So Amazon obviously has a lot of data signals to understand, demand, how much, etc.
Yeah.
And so they negotiate terms. And obviously, when you're as big as Amazon, you can
Dictate the terms.
you can dictate the terms, and while still everybody wins, right? Otherwise, if people weren't winning, they wouldn't be selling on Amazon, right? Naturally. So now, once that inventory starts to get older, then you start to chop away at the price, because if it's say a gadget or a phone, etc., they're going to be superseded by new models. So you need to make sure that you get that stuff out of the door. Now, frankly, that's the side of the house that I wasn't a part of, so I can't give you too much detail there. But obviously, like any retailer, in this case an e-retailer, we want to maximize turns of inventory, right? And I think the superpower of Amazon is their marketplace, their 3P business, because
3P.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Third party.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you have this long tail of sellers, and then when you overlay that with the last mile infrastructure that Amazon has, then you have something called fulfilled by Amazon, FBA.
Yes.
And then if you become an FBA seller, it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Okay.
You as an end user get to experience that very high quality experience in terms of delivery, speed, etc., accountability.
Is that when it's held in the factory then, effectively?
When it's held in the warehouses, right? And then they get delivered by Amazon delivery associates. And then you also benefit from the long tail of selection.
Yeah.
Right, because Amazon has this flywheel that people have probably read about, the lore of, Jeff Bezos wrote something on a napkin, but essentially the way it goes is the more selection you have, the more potential buyers you have for that selection. And then more traffic, more buyers, then...
It's the same thing as property, really, isn't it? You relate the same thing. If you've got the listings, you have control.
And we'll talk about the Houza flywheel in a bit. And then the secondary component is lower prices. So the more you're able to sell on Amazon, the better the terms you can get from the vendors, the sellers.
Does that also help the algorithm as well? So if you're a 3P customer on Amazon, does that also put you higher up the algorithm to show that you've got quality score to increase? That must make your listing more visible.
If you have high ratings, so Amazon very much depends on user ratings into their algorithm to decide what gets featured or whatnot, and then they put Amazon Choice and other badges to elevate that item.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's push this back to Houza now, because I've got my Amazon fix. I'm probably one of the number one customers. My last thing I bought off them was, the sea submersible thing that you hold on to and you go underwater. And have you seen it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Does it look like a shark?
No, you hold on to it. It's like a motor in the middle, and it takes you like a mini jet ski. Oh, so wow. I'm probably the worst customer to that, because I just thought, that looks good. I have one of them. And so I'm 3Ps. I'm a big fan of it.
Are you a Prime member?
I am a Prime member. I get Amazon Prime as well.
Nice.
So I watch Lord of the Rings every day. I'm 3 episodes in. Have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Not yet.
There you go. Then you're not a proper Prime fan, right? Okay, so Houza. You're now moved on from Amazon. Why did you choose to get into Houza? What is it that's tickled your fancy? Because coming from such amazing tech roles, what is it with Houza that got you interested?
So I honestly decided to take a sabbatical, and was planning to be spending quality time with family. My wife had just delivered our second child. We have 2 children under 2, and I wanted to just frankly spend quality time. So I had a plan to basically take 6 months off and enjoy our young and growing family. And then a month and a half into that sabbatical, Barry called me and said, "Hey, can we have a chat?" And then Barry shared with me his personal circumstances where he was going to move on to a new challenge in the UK.
Are we allowed to say what the challenge? We're allowed to say what it is, aren't we?
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity and role. So basically, Barry, who used to lead Dubizzle, got headhunted, and Houza, got headhunted to basically run Gumtree and Motors.co.uk in the UK, which is an amazing opportunity to be the CEO of those 2 businesses.
But he's still on our board. That's the most
absolutely.
important thing.
So Houza, so Barry continues to be part of Houza. Barry co-founded Houza. He led Houza up until my joining 2 months ago, and now he's moved to the board.
2 months now, surely.
It depends.
Officially.
From when I first went on radio, it was longer. I was already wearing the Houza hat before I joined, but yeah. But that's kind of the genesis. And for me, what excited me about the opportunity is couple of fold. I have been cutting my teeth on marketplaces since 2013, working with Uber, Dubizzle, etc. Real estate as an asset class has always fascinated me, and I was never an expert, and I'm still learning every day, and it's honestly what makes this job really exciting. I'm exposed, a recent homeowner from a few years ago, an investor in projects in the US. But for me, the opportunity to kind of like really dive in to Houza was also a lot, was something that excited me. And the last piece, which nobody really talks about, is rejoining my former colleagues that we worked together and built amazing products and created tremendous value at Dubizzle. It's very rare that
Seb, are we talking about?
We're talking about Seb, Matt, Sarah, Aziz.
It is a very, very
Imad.
strong team behind Houza, isn't it?
Honestly, the team that we have, frankly, you'd expect to see in probably a Series BC company, right? The talent that we have and the decades of marketplace and classified experience we have is really unique. And nobody talks about it, so I'm talking about it right now.
Yeah, they're the unsung heroes, aren't they? Like the work that Seb does and Sarah does and Matt signing up the companies. So I'm gonna ask some. I know I'm a shareholder in Houza, so it's important to be a caveat there. I invest at the start with big companies like Better Homes and Driven. So I'm just gonna cut straight to the chase. I'm gonna ask you a question that you don't think was gonna come on here, so I'm just gonna ask you straight up. One of the things that people are concerned about is obviously I invested into Houza like I'd invest into Tesla. So the fear that some people have is that these are the companies invested into Houza. Do they have any rights to the leads, or how secure is an agency working with let's say you, if other companies are invested into it?
Have you ever been to our offices?
I've never seen your office.
Yeah,
it's the first time. Is this the first time?
This is my first time at Allsup and Allsup.
Yeah.
So we are two very separate entities. We have a governance structure. We have a board that is made up of some of our largest shareholders. You've actually resigned from our board, right? But you continue to be very much involved and a huge supporter of the business. Yes. So we are an independent tech startup. We are backed by the largest agencies in town. You've mentioned a few of them. Yeah. In fact, we have 16 agency shareholders. Not a lot of people know this. Wow. And we're looking to grow the number of agency shareholders that we have. And we're going to be out in the market very soon, trying to raise money from institutional investors. Today, the $5.5 million that came into Houza to get us to this point of time was 100% from the industry. Yeah. But for Houza to continue growing and for us to keep elevating, we're going to need to get institutional investors to come in and to join our board. But to answer your question, we have the correct governance structures. There is no direct API from Houza to Allsup.
I know, that'd be incredible.
No, we get content from the industry. And this frankly goes back to the earlier question, like what excited me. It's very hard in classifieds and online marketplaces to break in when you have an existing duopoly structure, which is the case. Let's face it, we have two very strong. Two.
Okay. Technically three though. Two to the public, three because you've got Dubizzle, Bayou, but to me and you it's two.
Correct. Yeah. So when you have a duopoly structure, so power to them. However, the superpower that we have is our current shareholding structure, and the fact that we're backed by the industry means that we can get content before everyone else. And this is a fantastic segue for us to talk about Only on Houza.
Yes.
So Only on Houza is our ability to break in and get a seat at the table when you already have two very strong players. Yeah. And to the property seeker, it's our call to action for people to come and prioritize Houza to find the freshest listings that they can't find anywhere else, that are verified, that are fresh.
If you put this into Amazon theory, okay, and we say you're still at Amazon, if Amazon had a competitor that had all the products and Amazon didn't have the products, what would happen to Amazon?
People would start going there, and then maybe Amazon would be like, hey, they're onto doing something well. Maybe we might want to acquire that content and may want to buy. Or if that company is able to thrive on their own, they can always stay independent. Amazon, not that we should spend too much time talking about Amazon, but Amazon is about to buy Roomba or announced to buy Roomba. When you have the data and you can see what people are acquiring, then you can already start thinking about a future list of acquisition targets, right?
Exactly, yeah.
In our case here, the content is from the same universe of agencies. Correct. What matters here is who is attracting the seekers and who's actually delivering success for those agencies. Yeah. So we talked about the Amazon flywheel.
Yep.
very much inspired by the Amazon flywheel, which is all about growing absolute selection
Yeah.
and lowering prices to draw consumers to the site and to help sellers sell more. The Houza flywheel in our minds is as follows. Ultimately, the perennial problem that exists in the market today is that we have a content quality challenge.
Yes.
Where about a third of the time people will call a listing that they see online only to be told that that property is no longer available.
Correct.
For a variety of reasons. It's an old listing that had transacted, that continues to stay up. It could be a fake listing.
Most of the time.
Right?
Outside of Allsop and Allsop.
And a duplicate listing where someone is trying to game the system by multiplying the same content over and over again to gain share of voice unfairly and at the detriment of other agencies or agents who play above board.
Correct.
Right? So this continues to happen today. The problem of why it's not getting solved is that these two very successful incumbents, their business models that have served them very, very well and have allowed them to become quite big and peg their valuations, which now stands, anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion, depending on who you ask. They don't have the incentive to see about a third of their content disappear overnight, because that's going to have an impact.
But it's about to, though, isn't it? So that's interesting. The Dubai Land Department's recent circular saying that every listing has to have a Tracreasy number. So am I right in saying that all these portals effectively going to have to drop their listings dramatically unless they've got a Form A landlord owners?
Depending on how quickly enforcement comes into play, I think that is kind of the end goal. But is there an incentive for them to accelerate that move? No.
Definitely not.
So, and enter Houza, our model is very different. We don't monetize based on selling listings and visibility. We monetize on delivering leads.
Yeah.
So frankly, we are very excited about this push by the DLD and want to partner with the DLD to get all of this fake content off of sites as soon as possible, because it's going to mean a better experience for seekers. They find what they want faster, because then pages and pages of fake crap, let's just call it what it is, goes off of the sites. Those eyeballs and those leads now can get spread over to a more
concentrated.
legitimate.
That's what I said. Someone was talking about the market and real estate, and they said, how do you think, because obviously we're very good friends with Property Finder and Bayou, these are our partners. And
we respect them, right? So at the end of the day,
you can't not respect them. They're a good company to be around. And someone said, when Property Finder and Bayou remove these listings, how's that going to affect you? I said, well, our listings are real. So what will happen if you imagine a glass of orange squash that's see-through with a little bit of squash? We're going to put more, and it will be the most concentrated version of that squash. And to put that into context, the squash is the customers. The amount of people that are going to be coming to the website will remain the same, but the amount of listings will be less, which will increase the legitimate agents' lead generation dramatically. So look, I'm all for it. And I think this is, for me, with Houza and where I see the strength for me, Bayou, Property Finder, Houza, let's just say them three there. As soon as the Tracreasy becomes in, and every listing has to have a Tracreasy, which means that in similar to anyone's not in the brokerage terms, every agency, Allsop and Allsop, all the biggest companies have their CRMs where they put their data in. That data will feed into the portals. Every listing will be real. So everybody then at that point has the same playing field. So verified listings, true checks, anything you can imagine, they all become one because every listing is real.
It's going to level the playing field, 100%.
So my question I've got to you is, how do you differentiate and how do you...
I'm glad you asked that question.
I don't know why I said that.
But so here's how it goes. So as we mentioned before, legacy monetization models, right? It's once you get to a level of dominance in terms of traffic, etc., the next thing you start to focus on is monetizing. We talked about squeezing the lemon and extracting more. So these platforms basically have sold their sort algorithm, meaning if you want to get maximum visibility, you pay to be at the top.
Correct.
So again, one of the beauty of having such an experienced team who came from Dubizzle is that we've seen this model play out and then see how ultimately it fails.
Yes.
It fails the seeker because now they start to see pages and pages and pages of featured ads, right? Not necessarily content that is high quality or where you have agents behind those listings that are responsive. So what our team has done is we've built an exclusive algorithm that nobody has done in the country yet, which is quality backwards. What does that mean? Is the content exclusive? Yes, all the way to the top. Is it fresh? All the way to the top. Are a lot of people engaging? All the way to the top. Is that agent responsive and responding quickly? Is another signal that goes into the algorithm that then prioritizes it. So what it means for the seeker is when you land on our site, you are going to be shown content that is high quality, exclusive, and connecting you to a very responsive and professional agent.
And that's what everyone wants. I mean, I was looking on one of these portals the other day, and the amount of paid ads. I mean, we do paid ads, so I understand what it is. My theory with real estate is visibility creates viewings. That's what I would say all the time in property terms. Mm-hmm. But when I'm on these portals, all of them, worldwide, I look at them and I'm like, the best way for me to find a house now is actually find the tower that I want and go to newest and hope that the newest listing is actually going to be real. Because if you do it any other way, people are just paying for visibility. And that visibility doesn't always guarantee you the listing. Someone outside of our company rented a house through Houza recently, and they just went, I love the fact, I didn't call you Lewis, by the way. I was like, okay, fair enough. But I called 3 companies, and 3 of them showed me the houses and then were available. Because obviously Houza has a limited amount of, I think it's got 200 agencies. How many agencies?
250.
250 agencies live, where some of these portals have got 2,000 agencies. So yeah, I think the content play is really where the money's going to be for anyone that pulls it off.
So only on Houza, the superpower that gets us a seat at the table. However, the way that Houza is going to build value and grow is around quality.
Yes.
And by being obsessed and property seeker backwards and building a platform that delivers the most superior experience for them will drive that traffic to our site.
Yeah.
More property seekers coming, more traffic, more leads being fed to the listings that we have.
Yeah.
Means more successful transactions, more engaged agencies giving us that content first, and then that content, high quality content flywheel spins.
Yeah.
But then there's a secondary flywheel, again, very inspired by Amazon, which is getting agents, the best agents to engage and prioritize Houza leads. And by getting them engaged and responding to property seekers faster, also further delights the seeker experience. And then again, those 2 wheels keep spinning, and that's the Houza flywheel. Only on Houza ignites the wheel.
Yeah.
But then getting that content quality first gets people to come and search on our site before any other site for those 72 hours.
I think
then leads.
It takes years to build out. I mean, if you say today, I want to buy a property, like subliminal advertising that Property Finder have done over the years is the first thing that you think. And it takes such a long time for a consumer to understand what Houza is trying to create, which is genuinely trying to change the market for the better. But I think with a portal, what I've come to learn being invested into it and working with Saab, it's not a short game. And it's to you to compete at the top level, it takes a lot of capital to get to that level. And that's, I think it's going to be an interesting business to see how it plans out in the next few years, because this is as disruptive as you can get in the portal world, with the top companies in Dubai selecting to put their listings with Houza. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, no, and we're up to the challenge, and we're all very excited about improving and raising the bar for the property seekers, and at the same time making our agency partners more successful.
It's David and Goliath, isn't it? It's like is it a dragon, David and Goliath? David and Goliath, was it a dragon? Anyone else? Was it a dragon? No. It was the Welsh dragon with the guy. So Goliath was the big dragon, and David, they were fighting, and there was the hero versus the little guy. So we're definitely David. We're definitely David. Yeah. Yes, Welsh. You wouldn't know that, guys. I'm looking around the room. Okay, so my final question for you is really for anyone who's in the brokerage side. So I've seen one of the shareholders in Houza Espace did a very big deal in the Meadows last week, and he put it on social media, which I was happy but also annoyed when another person did a deal that's not me. It's my competitive streak. And that worked out I worked out something like 3 years of his subscription paid for with Houza. We did a deal last week in the Marina, which was 2 years of subscription. So if you're a broker and you don't want to increase your costs, hypothetically,
right,
How does it work with Houza in terms of how do you pay Houza? How does that actually work?
So first off, I'm really disappointed in you that you called it a subscription, because we don't have a subscription.
Okay.
All
Commitment.
right? Commitment. So no agency pays fees upfront to have visibility on Houza. We welcome all of your content, provided that it's legit, and then we charge you on a per lead basis, depending on which part of town, the value of the home, etc. And basically, with only on Houza, which was the case in Espace's case, that house in the Meadows that they sold for 7 million dirhams, great success for them and the landlord.
Congratulations.
Yeah. was an only on Houza listing, which means that they received that lead during that 3-day window, that 72-hour window.
Yeah.
And I believe that was also the case with the property in the marina, which goes back to, if we are successful in educating the consumer that this is where you find the freshest and most legit content in town, then you are going to be able to attract genuine in-market buyers or renters who don't want to get messed about. And that's our hope, and that's what we're trying to do. And for the agent and agency, you are only paying for performance. You are not paying for visibility.
Correct.
And I think that is the future, and that shows our vision in terms of partnership.
Yeah.
And with time, we're going to keep building more products and keep pivoting and getting closer and partnering closer with our agencies to ensure that we support them in success.
Wow. That was a good way to sign off, wasn't it? Thank you very much for listening in to Also Up and Alsa's podcast with the main man from hausa.com, JP. Thank you very much, guys. See you later.